Welcome, this is Crime Will Tell, Cooking Up Crime, where we talk about true crime and cook dinner in the meantime.
Oh, that was a cute rhyme.
Yeah, I thought so. So we're going to be in Canada today.
I'm sure that's not offensive. We love Canada.
And what is Canada famous for?
Bacon.
Bacon, right? Okay, all right. We've already tried this a couple times, but it's maple syrup. Maple syrup. That is
It's almost like it's on their flag.
Yeah, they literally have a maple leaf on their flag. Anyways, so our story is going to have to do with maple syrup. I couldn't think of anything more fitting. All right. So before we get started on the story, we need to make a cocktail. Let's do that. So this is loosely based on a guy I saw on TikTok make something. So we're gonna go.
You have to hydrate between alcoholic
between
beverages.
your alcohols, yes.
Between your alcohols, yes.
All right. So first, we're gonna do lime juice. I am not gonna squeeze my own limes. I know that's like taboo.
Is that key lime juice?
It is his key lime. Listen, I'm working with what I got here. Okay.
We were just at the grocery store. You could have bought.
But we have this. Anyways, lime juice. I don't know how much, but we're putting that in there. And then we got apple. I initially wanted to do pear juice, but
you might have to shake that.
Oh yeah, I do have to shake that.
The world's best mixologist, right here.
I am not a professional by any means. Okay. So, anyways, apple juice, apple cider. Initially, like I said, I wanted to do pear.
Are you just measuring willy-nilly?
Willy-nilly. Willy-nilly is
because you're not explaining
how I go about these things.
You're not explaining like how to make the drink that you are making.
I'm doing a big shot of lime and then a big shot of the apple.
Also, we have a collection of adorable shot glasses, and I like that you use the plastic.
Because this is it's the little double one. That's like the most professional one you can go with. All right, and then some amount of maple syrup because that is part of our story.
You measure that with your heart.
So.
Oh, is it really?
I already said that.
Oh, did you?
Anyways, so most of the maple syrup, over 70% of it, is made in Quebec. Well, in Quebec, there is a, it's called FPAQ. F-P-A-Q. It is the Federation for the Quebec Maple Industry.
Okay.
All right. And they control pretty much.
So is this a word or an acronym?
It's an acronym.
Okay,
F-P-A-Q. FPAQ, as it's so commonly pronounced.
What the fact?
What the fact? So this organization, we'll call it the Federation from now on, controls a majority of the maple syrup in Canada. And they have strict regulations and quotas that they mandate all of the maple syrup manufacturers and producers to, like, they set how much has to be made, right?
Okay.
And then they skim off the top. From what I saw, or from what I read, the people generally refer to this as almost being cartel-like, the way that they handle the maple syrup industry.
It sounds a little bit too like the bourbon industry, like in Kentucky. Not that I know a lot about bourbon, but
this is simple syrup. Just
that you were measuring with your heart as well.
With my heart. Boom, throwing that in there. So the Federation controls a majority of the maple syrup that is manufactured, how much is to be produced, and they set the regulations so that they can control the market on maple syrup. So part of the reason why maple syrup is so expensive is because of FPAQ. So they control how much is made so that they can control the price and the market of maple syrup. Meaning that whenever producers produce too much maple syrup, they have to store the extra maple syrup in warehouses. Next, I got some spiced rum. We just got Captain here. I'm going to put a generous amount.
Toppers is the best, but it wasn't. We were at the liquor store. Oh,
I
party foul.
We're going to add a little extra there. So in 2001, there was a excess of maple syrup that was made.
Okay.
Meaning that the Federation required that more maple syrup be stored than previously. Meaning that they had to find an extra place to store all this extra maple syrup.
Okay.
And they put it in a warehouse that wasn't typically used for storing maple syrup. Fun fact about maple syrup is that it is worth 25 times that of crude oil. So
like
it is
price-wise.
So it is very, very, very expensive. All right. So anyways, they ended up storing this excess maple syrup in a warehouse where it wasn't typically used for storing it and didn't have the security needed required for maple syrup.
Oh my
You see where
gosh.
this is going?
I'm
You see where this is
excited
going?
now. Mm-hmm.
Then I've got some whiskey here, some Jim Beam Vanilla.
Mm.
It was on sale.
Mm. It's not a reason to buy whiskey.
That's as good
This
of a
is a
reason
Jack
as I need.
Daniels family, not a Jim Beam family.
Yeah, I wanted Jack, but we had Jim. Anyways, and then you got to throw a generous heaping amount of ice in there. I don't have the fancy clear ice. This is just from our fridge.
You just have to boil that water.
We're not doing all that. And then shit. That's so cold.
You know what? That's karma for something, I'm sure.
Then we get our glasses, and let's try this concoction here. A little bit in that one, a little bit in that guy right there.
Okay, so just a quick rundown. We have rum, spiced rum, vanilla whiskey, which sounds like an oxymoron, but somehow is not. Apple juice, lime juice,
maple syrup. Can't forget the maple syrup. Simple syrup.
And simple syrup. I feel like it needed a garnish. Like maybe we should have gotten like cinnamon sticks or something.
That's so fancy. Gosh. We're not at that point in our lives where we're maybe one day when I'm a professional
mixologist. One of us is past that point in their lives, but
all right. Cheers. Let's try this out. This is good.
You and me both. Oh my gosh, you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
That drink in Disney Springs that I had an allergic reaction to.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like falling in glass.
It's kind of like an apple pie flavor to it.
It's awfully sweet.
It is. I think it's too sweet.
Oh, I just got it's too sweet.
It's too sweet.
I think if you were going to make this again, or like if you were going to make this at home, either maple syrup or simple syrup.
Yeah, I think the combination of two, like I said, I based this off of a guy on TikTok and he put both in there.
Well,
blasphemy. Oh my God. So what an insult. Let's move on to the food. Now that we have these beautifully delicious beverages here. Okay. What are we making for dinner?
The actual number one Canadian food product, which is poutine.
Poutine. And if you don't know what poutine is, just buckle up and you'll get the.
Or just leave because we don't want you here.
That went down weird.
The whole thing's going down weird. It's very sweet.
It's very sweet. So poutine is a Canadian pub dish. It's got fries, cheese curds, and gravy. So pretty simple. So let's go ahead and let's get to that.
To that?
I said to that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Where are my potatoes?
They're in the thing. So we're gonna be making poutine. We're gonna use. We're actually gonna make our own fries or like wedges, potato wedges. Then of course we're just gonna use some good old packet gravy, brown gravy. And we also obviously didn't make our own cheese curds, so we've got those.
No, we don't have a dairy farm.
I don't know how to. I can't even make this. So
see, it's a Sunday. This almost became our own true crime. So step number one is you get just a little bit tipsy, and then you get a knife.
Yeah.
You hold the knife blade directly at your face, like I'm doing.
For the gravy, you need a saucepan. This comes with, you got to put a cup of water in here.
I'm holding a weapon. Why are you annoying me? If you have suggestions for how to improve my knife skills, I don't want them.
Yeah.
I don't take criticism well.
I've tried. All right, so we got nice, thickly cut potatoes.
Are you happy with those? Do they need to be any thinner?
Yeah, here, let me grab that. Hold on a knife like so. And
I tore the...
Yeah, put your potato slices into a bowl, and you want to pat them dry so they don't have too much moisture and they're not too starchy. Actually, if you want to like wash
what you're going to do is you're going to buy the packet of
you can just buy the
French fries and not do any of this.
The fact that we're even making food and we're not just getting takeout is
that's a win.
Yeah.
We're not going to...
A little bit of olive oil is usually we just like my cocktail making skills. Just a generous amount. So if you're not a peasant, you've got an air fryer. Wow, that drink is pretty strong. I am feeling that right now. All right, so I'm not the best at pronouncing names, and these are French names. So I if I butcher them, just bear with me. So anyways, going back
That's what you have your knife for, to butcher names. Yep.
This is a cooking channel. okay? And we butcher things, including names. Back to our story.
Okay.
We've got the warehouse where there's an excess amount of maple syrup being stored, right? So the guy who owns the warehouse, his name is Avik Karen. Again, if I pronounced that wrong, just whatever.
There's 0% chance you pronounced it right. I'm just gonna.
0%. Anyways, he comes up with this idea. He realizes that there's all this unsecured maple syrup in his warehouse. Yeah, this is Bruce, our cat, who has to always interrupts a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So he realizes that there's all this unsecured maple syrup in his warehouse, and he gets the idea.
The bad guy.
He wants to siphon off and sell some of the maple syrup to make. He's going to steal the maple syrup, but he doesn't have the know-how.
From a lady.
Yeah. So he doesn't have the know-how to do this particular kind of heist, as they call it. Turns out, due to the fact that the Federation is so controlling over the maple industry, there's an entire black market of maple syrup in Canada. So there's this underground.
Oh my God.
I think it's okay.
It might be okay.
So he doesn't have the know-how on how to sell the maple syrup on the black market. So he enlists the help of Richard Valores. If I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I apologize. Richard is.
If he's a bad guy,
well, are they bad guys? We'll get to that. So Richard is what known as a barrel roller.
Oh.
Yes.
That sounds like a great job.
So Richard had spent 10 years selling maple syrup on the maple syrup black market.
Okay.
Which I think is so freaking hilarious that there is a maple syrup black market.
I'm truly fascinated. And I'm starting to wonder, what else you can sell in the black market that you wouldn't think.
Right? So where we're at right now is we have a federation that is so controlling over the maple syrup industry that it has generated a black market for maple syrup. And there are people with names, barrel rollers, who sell maple syrup on the maple syrup black market, which is hilarious. It is essentially a profession.
Just so I'm clear, this barrel roller, he's a barrel roller for big maple syrup.
So the barrel,
he also sells on the black market.
Barrel rollers are people who actually sell the maple syrup on the black market.
That makes
that's what this
even
guy
cooler.
So that's how
so
this
he's
guy.
Not telling people at parties that he's a barrel roller.
No, so he is. I mean, he might be, but he is enlisted.
Probably depends on the party.
By Karen, who is the owner of this warehouse where this maple syrup is being secured. So he enlists Richard to help him siphon off and sell this maple syrup on the black market. So their scheme, what they do is they go to the warehouse, they take the barrels, they end up renting an adjacent warehouse. Richard and he's got a gang of people that work with them.
Typical. Richard
gets a warehouse adjacent to it, and they start taking the barrels very discreetly over the course of a year, taking the barrels from this warehouse, siphoning off the maple syrup, and then replacing the volume with water.
I know foreshadowing to, teenagers do with vodka and their parents' alcohol stuff.
Yes.
Not that I ever did that.
Yes.
I'm not a vodka drinker. I didn't do that. But gin, sure. I know foreshadowing doesn't work in real life on real people, but I'm kind of feeling they're gonna be really good at this until they're not.
Yes. So over the course of a year, from 2011 to July of 2012, they siphon off approximately $18 to $19 million worth of maple syrup.
We are in the wrong business.
I know, right? So they have this whole scheme going. It's about 14 people.
I was looking up with certain weird niche Etsy shops today, make on Etsy, and this feels about the same.
Yeah.
There's a 3D printed cookie cutter company that apparently made close to $1 million in the last 2 years, and I'm
well, it's brilliant.
What?
They are literally just siphoning off barrels of maple syrup and selling it on the black market. But of course, they can't just stick with their plan. They get a little greedy because for a year no one noticed.
I love you, but I hate that. I drank so much of it though.
I guess I'm gonna be.
You don't have to work in the morning. I do. So
I am like.
I can tell.
Feeling it. So trying to remember the facts of this story, proven to be a little difficult. All right, real quick, let's check our gravy here. So I think this is what it's supposed to look like. I think we overcooked it a little bit, but yeah, we got some brown gravy going on there.
I love how you're like, I think this is what it's supposed to look like, but you literally used to work at
fries. I mean, I know what brown gravy is supposed to look like.
I was gonna say, you were working at a Cracker Barrel when I met you. You know what brown gravy looks like.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it goes. I'm the alligator. You're the unsuspecting victim.
Oh.
You can't die already.
Come on, Pickles, pee. Go pee.
So many people's dogs get eaten by alligators because there are alligators. Every body of fresh water.
It sounds like our potato wedges are done.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get them out. Bring them over here.
All right. Obviously, you're going to plate your potato wedges or your fries, whichever you prefer.
Whatever your potato product of choice is.
All right. Okay. Now we have our fries plated.
Mm-hmm.
We got to add our cheese curds.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of adding the cheese curds first, so that they like melt more when.
I'm very drunk.
And just like the whiskey and the maple syrup, you measure the cheese curds with your heart.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So apparently the serving size for this is 1 whole packet of cheese per 2 people.
Yes.
Do you want me to drizzle it? Because I'm more sober, despite me having more alcohol in my body right now. Get as close to the pan as you possibly can. That's an important step. So I'm going to go that way and then back and forth like that.
Mm-hmm. Look at that deliciousness. Oh my gosh. Give myself
a little more gravy.
Look
just
at that.
To not like waste it.
So that's poutine there, my guys. If you're Canadian and you're looking at this and you're like that, you guys botched that.
We're from Florida, which is literally the opposite of Canada. So don't come at us.
Yes, exactly.
And I also drizzle a little bit on them.
So now we got poutine, and this looks pretty good. I am very excited for this. Oh my gosh.
So and this is probably against
probably a fork
as well, but I eat mine with a fork.
Oh, I could probably.
The last time we ordered poutine out at a bar, I asked for a fork and the waitress looked at me like I was insane. I'm like, I also want a knife too, so is it good? Is it as good as the daily poutine from Disney Springs? Because
it's better.
I know that's not real poutine either, but we are close to Disney Springs and
so anyways.
Yeah.
Richard and his gang of maple thieves. Kind of like maple leaves.
Oh, I'm like, I know I could tell you were trying to be funny, but I didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
No one else did either.
So the gang of maple thieves, they end up getting a little too greedy. And instead of taking like the barrels and siphoning a little bit and refilling them, they end up just start siphoning more and more and more from the barrels directly, and they don't end up refilling them. So they take more and more.
You gotta refill.
Yeah. This all comes to a head when a Federation inspector goes to inspect the barrel, one of these barrels, these huge barrels. And when the barrels are full, they weigh about 600 pounds. Okay.
Jeez.
He uses a little ladder to look up into the barrels. Puts the ladder up against the barrel. He starts to climb the ladder, and the barrel almost falls over because it's empty.
Okay.
This raises suspicion. And through an investigation, they end up singling out Richard and his little gang of maple thieves. And they arrest everybody. Like I said, they stole about $18 to $19 million worth of maple.
Mm-hmm.
It is the largest heist in Canadian history.
I'm really thoroughly enjoying the word heist.
Heist. That's what they call it, as a heist.
Being attributed to maple syrup.
Mm-hmm. So they end up stealing all kinds of maple syrup over the course of a year, and they get caught. So Richard, who was the kind of the ringleader of the whole thing,
Yep.
He ended up getting the most severe sentence, which was 8 years. He got 8 years, and then had to
In
pay
the Canadian prison.
Yeah, he had to pay $9.4 million back. Yes, and if he did not pay the $9.4 million back
On top of his
on top of his
8 years.
sentence,
Okay.
he got an additional 14 years of prison time. Now, I may be wrong about this, but I think in Canada, the max sentence you can get is 25 years. So if you murder somebody in Canada, if I'm wrong about this, please correct me. If you murder someone in Canada, you get 25 years, right?
Okay.
This guy, if he doesn't pay back,
that feels like not long enough
right?
to like take someone's life, and then it's like, well, here's a quarter of someone's life.
So this guy could end up spending more time in jail for this maple syrup heist than criminals do, or murderers do in prison.
Frack around and find out.
Frack around to find out.
Sorry.
After the incident, there was like national like attention brought to the Federation, and people were like, this Federation has too much power. So one way you can look at this is like a Ocean's 11 style heist that they end up doing and stealing all
I've
this.
never seen that movie. That reference is lost on me.
Or you can look at this as like a Robin Hood tale, where he was stealing from the rich and given to the poor. Because in court, Richard said, stealing from thieves is not stealing. He viewed the Federation, and I guess many people
you said
did.
Robin Hood, and now like all I can think about is that like very like sexually tense scene between like the Fox Maid Marian and the Fox Robin Hood from Disney.
It's a weird thing to go to.
It's Robin Hood, like that. It was he was hot for being like a humanoid fox.
Yeah, he had some swag. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, that's the story of the largest heist in Canadian history, and it's about maple syrup. I thought it was a thoroughly interesting story, and obviously pretty funny. So yeah, that is the story of the brown gold heist.
You're slinging it around.
Yeah, I know I am. So this has been Crime Will Tell, cooking up crime. The food was great. I hope the story was great. If you liked it, please subscribe. Leave a comment. That'd also be really, really great. Subscribe to our podcast, where we have like podcasts where we talk about these things like in greater detail. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. So we will be making more of these. So till next time on Crime Will Tell. Getting a little bite here.